I'm Lynn, Recreation and Communications Coordinator for the City of Yelm.
And I'm Jared, Yelm native, filmmaker, and owner of Part 1 Media.
And for the past year, we've been celebrating Yelm's centennial, culminating in this History of Yelm documentary.
For the past year, we've recorded over 80 hours of interviews and footage, and we've edited that down into the film you're going to see tonight.
What we're showing you is people's memories. It's their stories. It's the stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. It may not be how you remember it or how your family tells the story.
We want to thank you for sharing your stories with us, for trusting us with your memories, and ultimately for being a part of Yelm for the last 100 years.
And cheers to the next 100 years, to 100 more years of possibility and promise, friendships, community, and fun.
Enjoy the show.
Well, there was only about 200 people. And anybody walked down the street, you knew everybody. So if a kid got in trouble, right away somebody might say, might come tell me, hey, babe, your boys are raising a little cane up in town. So everybody knew that. Took care of everybody. We had a ball team, went swimming together, always had a swimming party in the summertime and picnics, and our life was the Grange Hall. Didn't cost no money.
Yelm was born out of ashes. There were 3 big fires that nearly took the city out. It was 1908, 1913, 1924 was the most devastating. It's not that there was nothing there in the beginning. It's that when that 1924 fire ravaged our historic business district, it took everything out. There are very few buildings that survived that.
Of course, every nickel they made, they kept, There was, evidently he didn't have much because he settled right down here by the water. And she said how they lived under a log the first year, big log, and they made a lean-to.
As my grandpa was mayor here in Yelm, my dad helped organize our first fire department. He put a phone in every fireman's house that had a direct line. They could answer the fire call. If they called 458-2000, it would ring in every home, and they had a fire siren there to blow that went off on the water tower.
Well, there were 2 stores. There was the Edwards store and the Wolf store. Those were either grocery stores or groceries and dry goods. A pretty small town community in those days. Logging is a big thing, and farming was a big thing, and raspberries were big things. Kids, even as a young man, I was picking berries and green beans and different things, seasonal work.
Yelm had acres and acres of them, and they were, everybody picked blackberries. Every kid, that's where most of the kids got their school clothes. You picked blackberries or beans, raspberries, all summer, and then he bought school clothes.
So after these fires, 1908, 1913, 1924, the reason it was so devastating is because Yelm wasn't a city, there wasn't a fire department, there weren't fire hydrants, there wasn't irrigation that you could pull the water and put out fires. And it wasn't until Yelm's Women's Civic Club that pushed for incorporation. So when you think about like women in the history of Yelm, they saw that and pushed for it.
My great-great-grandfather was James Longmire. So my family's been here since 1853. My grandfather's brother, Lynn, he guided the first woman up Mount Rainier, and she had been a teacher at Yelm, Faye Fuller. So you felt a real connection to the Longmire family. They did a lot of brought the first teacher in, settled the area.
Well, you know what happened October 29, stock market. So that's why we moved up here on account of the Depression. People don't realize, God thinks there was just no money.
And we came to Yelm, and first thing I remember was a wool store. They were the big thing in town. I eventually went to work for Wolf in the store when I was a freshman. Worked for 3 years.
What did you do there?
Box boy. You never did that?
I don't even know what that is.
I thought everybody did.
He asked me to go steady in the 7th grade. And he spent the $1 he probably got from Combs buying me a ring at
Wolf's Department Store.
Yes, cost him everything.
99 cents.
My mother was appalled that I took a ring that cost that much money. She was just appalled.
They had clothes on one side and groceries on the other side, and we had the key. If you had meat in the locker, you had the key to the locker, and you went in the back and opened your locker and got your meat out. Those kind of things it was cool.
It's kind of a rite of passage to work at Wolf's at some point. And that's again where I see a lot of the faces that they would shop there. There was always, that friendly vibe in all of the stores, and you could have tabs in stores in those days. My dad was remodeling our house. He started when I was in kindergarten. It's not quite finished yet. And, we could go into Demich's hardware store and just grab what you need and say, put this on my tab and done. It was, in those days are long gone, but it was a cool time to grow up out here because everybody really did just kind of know each other and everybody helped each other out.
That was like the first thing I remember. Yeah, it was McDonald's, and then it was then Burger King, and then Safeway got built, and that was just a farm. My friend's house was there. It's just weird.
When I grew up in this town, I went through middle school, high school here, and I remember, McDonald's starting to grow bigger. The town was growing bigger, and at the time, everybody was freaked out. And we had 3,000 people at the time, and we had a McDonald's. Oh no, we're turning into a big city. Run away! It's freaky. Traffic's too bad. We can't handle it. Fast forward, same story. 20 years later. The really cool news is just slowly seeing the town keep its core of what it is, the small town feel. Anyone that lives here has that, the small town feel core.
And of course, the theater was right next door. There's a movie theater. And we used to go to that until it was pretty run down. And you'd be sitting in the movie and you had to almost wear a raincoat because the roof leaked. Or it had paper, and the paper would fill with water and then it'd break. And just like getting a bath. Those are the good old days.
you know, you have to get out. Sometime we had to go to Seattle a lot because we only had one restaurant. I remember Kathy Wolf, who was the mayor here, said one time, I'd be so happy if there were at least 3 restaurants a day different.
My earliest memories of Yelm were just absolute unadulterated freedom. When I was a young man with my friends, just rolling around town on our bicycles and playing in people's pastures and swimming in the Nisqually Pines pool. That's where I got to learn how to swim.
When you were young, how did you get from the lake into Yelm? What was your means of transportation?
Well, like on a bicycle or a horse. or hitchhike, but you knew everybody that came along the road. Hey, where you going, Edwards? Oh, I need to go to work down at the Four Corners store or something like that. I can remember when I was younger, there was a fellow that rode his horse to the tavern all the time and tied it up at the post over there where Bob's Tavern is. He always had a pistol too. Yeah, he shot himself in the leg going home one time. That was years later. And so that was the end of his horse riding. I mean, everybody knew everybody in those days. And then, if you think about it, well, then they all had some friends that maybe we didn't know. They're in Olympia and Lacey.
And back then it was over coffee or talking on the fence that you talked about the community, what they were doing. Or I guess the big thing that I remember when I came was going to the post office because everybody was talking. That's where you found out all your information about who was getting married or, what was going on type of a thing.
Everything was posted on the post office. So every morning you found out who died, you go to the post office and it was always... So I think people, looking back, people took care of each other.
Grew up here, so the town was small, you knew everybody. You went in the grocery store and you visited from aisle to aisle.
Life was a little bit simpler, a little slower then for sure. You could get from one side of Yelm to the other. We literally only had the one light at first in Yelm. There were no other lights in town, and you didn't need them. And I'll tell you this though, to this day, if traffic's even thick, people will stop and wave you in from the side streets. And when we did a survey once a few years back, where they were actually clicking their little clickers to see which cars went which way and so forth, they said one of the takeaways was they were amazed. They had not seen that in any other community where they'd done this, where people were frustrated, people were getting a little ticked off that the traffic was so slow, but then no, come on, you come in front of me.
Yeah, there was never. I don't remember being bored when I was growing up here. There was always something to do, and I always surrounded myself with a good group of people, and we thought we were troublemakers, but in hindsight, we were pretty.
You'd go on your bike and you'd take off and go to the middle of town. Your parents had no idea where you were, and you were told to be home by at least 6. And we'd go up and down the railroad tracks. I remember my buddies and I going on Fort Lewis, and as long as you were home by dark, that's all your parents cared about.
So that's a big difference. I have to say, my parents knew where I was. I was not allowed to go to Fort Lewis.
Well, my parents didn't know I was on Fort Lewis.
True. When I graduated high school, I was ready to go experience college. I was ready. I was 18. I'm like, I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to go do all these cool things. And then as I was at college, I remember thinking, I was like, I just want to go home. Like, I want to go home. I want to be with my family. I want to spend time with my friends and just be a part of this community. I missed kind of that really small town feel. And yes, Pullman had that to an extent, but also I knew everyone here and I was familiar. I've always loved the community, and just growing up and going through school here, like I wouldn't be who I am today or where I was today, the opportunities I had without the people in Yelm. And so I wanted to come back to that. I wanted, like, when I start to raise a family, I want to raise my kids in this, and I want to give back to people who gave to me to let me become the person I am.
I love that my kids get to go to the same schools that I did. So like I went to Fort Stevens and the old middle school, and the new high school was the first year it was open was the year I graduated. So now he's gone through all 3 of those schools, and then my younger ones will do the same thing. My daughter's in kindergarten at Fort Stevens right now. And it's so crazy just to see how the school has changed and the staff has changed. But I remember being that little kindergartner walking through the hall too. Like, you know, our babies get to do it.
My life couldn't have been any better because we lived a quarter mile up the road from my grandma and grandpa and my great-grandma. And my great-grandma was my best friend. So every day I got to see my grandparents. They lived on a farm, cows, horses.
We live down a dead-end road, and you go like 3/4 of a mile down, and there's my aunt's house, and then there's my other aunt's house, and then there's our house. And we just all live right in a row.
Yelm's, it's special. I mean, it really is. There's a feeling here of, people are kind, and the schools are awesome, and there's a lot of people that really care about this area and this town. And I don't know, I just think that it's a peaceful, great place to be.
Yeah. I think people are still interested in other people here. I think that's a big part of the personality of Yelm. You'll see people at, like Jazz in the Park, for example, or the barbecue rally, or one of the many other public events that we have, and we've focused on having for this very reason. You'll see them there, and then you'll see them like a week later at, you're out shopping at one of the stores, and you'll do that eye contact thing, and like, I know you from someplace, and then, hey, didn't I see you at the Jazz in the Park? Oh, I loved that, you know? And so you maintain that community connection. Yelm has that still.
If you build a building, a chicken house, no matter what it was, everybody went there and they had a big dance in it. Town was smaller, you knew it, all the kids in your class and school, you knew the teachers, you knew people uptown. It was a lot, yeah, and everybody got along. And you walk down the street, say hi, or walk in the store. Lucky you got out of there in an hour because you had to talk everything over with everybody else.
I see people that remember each other. Hi, how you doing? Oh, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. What's up, Bill, Joe, Bob? You know, Diane, how's it going? That's what makes it a small town, is because people remember each other. And I think people go out of their way to remember each other in the sense that people ask how you're doing and they care. And I think we're developing in a way, this goes into kind of the position that I'm in and the city's in, is we're developing in a way that makes it feel that way. We've done a good job of keeping our core, and that's the core of the construction in downtown. It's very same of what it's been.
I've talked to a lot of people over the years that were from the military that are now retired, and they chose to retire here because of their time at JBLM, and they lived in Yelm, and they might have even had to move away again, but they came back to Yelm because they liked it so much here. That's the kind of stuff that I hope continues to happen, because those are the people that want to see the community thrive.
I remember Bill Clinton coming to the park when I was in middle school, or like a freshman, yeah, and it's the city park. That was awesome. I mean, we all got out of school for that, and we all like walked down to the city park, and
when Bill Clinton came out here, President Clinton, he came out and I was part of the choir. I was in 3rd or 4th grade. I think 3rd grade at that point, or 4th grade. Anyway, in Prairie Elementary. And we sang to the president. We did a decent job. So he invited us out to Washington, D.C. And the community came together and raised about $130,000, which was able to get us all the equipment, the jackets, the uniforms, and all that stuff. But yeah, there's so many instances where the community would come together and help those in need here in Yelm. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things about Yelm that sets us apart from other communities, is time and time again, we will come together and support our own.
I think my key moments here are key moments because of the people. It's the times spent at our parks and the times spent at our businesses and the time spent building relationships with the people who make Yelm so incredible. And we're not going to cry about it.
What I remember is you didn't see a lot of the kids during the summer, but you went to Prairie Days, and there they were, and you could talk, and you could tell them what clothes you got for school, and
just all kinds of stuff. They had the old kitchen down there, and all the women of the Lions Club would bake pies to take down there. And you just, again,
It was more like a county fair. They actually had barns there that people showed their
yeah, they could bring,
cows or-
and you could pet them or whatever. And Lions Club did something about pitching pennies.
Oh yeah.
Little gambling on the side, and nobody cared. Nobody cared if the kids were there. Then they started having dances on Main Street.
I remember doing the Prairie Days parade and the Christmas in the Park parade and doing all of these things, and it was so cool because you had all these people, and then you were like famous because you had candy, so all the little kids would try and like run up and grab the candy from you, and you were just throwing it everywhere, and it was awesome, right? And you saw this whole community come out to support like what you were doing or just to give their kids a fun experience. And I think as an adult, it's really, really similar because we go out to things like fairs where the kids raise their animals and sell these things, and you're still seeing that showing of people who want to support the kids.
In changing it to a free for everybody event, again, boy, does that bring the community together. And the community stepped up in such a huge way. The restaurants who donate thousands of hot dogs or cookies or hot chocolate, the families that would come into Prairie Days, for example, and how much does this cost? Nothing. What? And be able to have a full day of fun with their kids at the park, that was huge.
Try to build community where I can and make it as enjoyable place as it can be. And if I can influence that in any way, shape, or form, whether it's, the heavy lifting at events, just being involved in, the barbecue rally, for instance, that's exploded. It's just a fantastic, it just warms your heart that day. And it makes me want to work at it harder with the volunteers that help put it together, because it's a huge draw, and it's a positive energy and a great vibe.
there were sports. And the sports in Yelm, I think, are still a big deal, but they were huge. I mean, if there was a basketball game, the town went to the basketball game. You didn't have to have a kid in the sport. Didn't even have to have your neighbor kid. It was a basketball game. Yeah. I mean, or a football game, or
And the people on like the outside, they don't really like understand how a small town, it is a small town feel. Like we're now 4A and I coach golf at the high school. And when we go to these other schools, they're like, oh, Yelm's such a small town. Even though we're like in your league and we're like, Yelm's such a small town, everybody knows everybody. I'm like, yeah, it sometimes feels like that, but it's also growing and changing. But
But I think our football team absolutely going and winning the state championship and then getting runner-up the next year, I think that's huge, because when a lot of people talk about Yelm now, I had a friend from college who was in the teaching program with me. He texted me 2 years ago and he said, hey, are you still at Yelm? And I said, yeah, what's up? He's like, I'm watching my school play in the championship game and your team is up next. So I think that's huge, because it brought a huge support out of our community. Look at the t-shirts that everybody has and still wears, whether it's adults or the kids or the parents or whoever. Again, kind of showing that huge Yelm support of look at what our kids are doing and look at what our future is. How awesome is that?
Little by little, over the past decade or so, Yelm has become noted in the county and regionally for some of the fine restaurants that we have here. We have the best cinema in the region. People drive from all over to go to Yelm Cinema because it's different, it's cool. That was a big change for people, that if you want to go out for date night, you don't have to go out and about, you can just go to Yelm. So that's been nice. Yeah. A lot of the change came about because you're sort of forced to do it. If you have more people coming into town, you need to have more buildings. The problem that we had in Yelm was in 1994, the state passed the Growth Management Act, which said, Yelm and other municipal areas, you have to grow up. You have to fill in. We want you to be a town of 20,000 by the year 2045. And we all chuckled at that.
The park is a perfect example. Back to when I was a kid, I had that place to myself because nobody wanted to be in there. It was a dusty, burnt grass outside of Prairie Days. There was nobody there. There were a couple of little league games in the springtime. But other than that, it was my playground because there wasn't a lot going on there. But if you look at it now, with how green it is and how plush it is, and just yesterday I was at the community center, just watching people. There must have been 50 people out there, and it wasn't the best day for weather, but they were there because it's there now.
Clearly, Yelm is evolving. It's moving in that direction in a positive way. And it's kind of understanding because the growth here is so rapid.
I see this becoming a major metropolitan area. I do not know if it's going to grow at the same rate that it has over the last 20 years, but it could.
It's been really interesting to watch the place grow and develop into the little city that it is anymore. We're not a small town. I mean, we conceded that a long time ago with what we have, but and the wave of growth is not stopping. So
I think looking into the future, what Yelm is going to have to offer in the next 10, 20, 100 years, is going to continue to grow. We are absolutely going to continue to grow. And I think that's because we're so great. Yeah. People are going to want to come here. People want to raise their families here. I think we'll continue seeing new programming. I think we'll continue seeing new events. I think we'll continue seeing our businesses thrive.
goal is to grow responsibly, grow the right way. And being in the position I'm in and with the people we have around us, that can help do that. And so, building infrastructure projects, getting things done. And everything you're building now needs to be built for that 20-year plan. One thing the council, everyone in the city has done really well at is planning for the future. We've been a very proactive city versus reactive. And I think that helps us a lot. So instead of waiting until something becomes a problem, we've got ahead of it. So we have to continue to grow using the money we have for future projects, even though if we don't have the money yet. So a lot of that's searching for grants, searching for anything we can to help build roads, infrastructure that we may not have the money to do now, but we know we're going to need it in the next 20 years.
We're getting bigger. We're doubling in size multiple times. It's happened over and over again. And we're just growing and growing more. But it's that small town charm that just remains. I don't know why. I don't know why it's still here and why we have that charm, but we do. It's a little bit different here.
I just think being good people is what keeps that small town feeling. Just be friendly. A simple wave, a smile in traffic, let the car through, let somebody cut in front of you in the grocery store. Who cares? You might see a friend in the next 5 minutes.
I would probably say the same thing. Like, the people in Yelm are great. So I can just go somewhere and meet new people like you guys. Like, I could just go meet people. So I hope when I'm an adult and I come back, I can still just do that.
I think we just have to support each other. And we have to look in the long run of, okay, I recognize like what we're doing right now, but we have to look into the future because the present is gone so quickly. And we don't necessarily see the impacts of our choices right away. But if we can take a minute and reflect and say, okay, I'm willing to put my effort into the community to make it a better place, I think that's how we retain this same feeling that we've had for so long.
If you drive into Yelm, it looks like a pretty nice town. Huh? Yeah, it's not dirty, it's clean.
It's comforting to go to the grocery store and know your cashier. It's comforting to take your kids to school and know the teacher. It's just, it's safe and it's comfortable and it's familiar and, yeah. I think it was home. Yeah, I mean, I've lived other places, but I get sucked right back, when I was younger, not now. I'm not going anywhere. And now we're so invested. My kids are in school, and I'm not going to go anywhere else, so.
The fact that at one point we had 7 physicians who worked in Yelm who graduated from Yelm High School tells you a lot about what people think of, how people think of Yelm as home. So I think that's going to persist.
The beauty around here, the nature, it's special. The proximity here to every different locations in Washington State,
There's something in the air, even in the Pacific Northwest, that people feel a need and a want to be here. And I just think Yelm has to continue to capture that.
You have to give back. You have to be involved. In whatever shape or form, if it's 10 minutes here, it's a whatever, because that's what makes it.
With both of my daughters, I told them, your life is going to be defined by the decisions you make. And I think that holds true for Yelm also. You have to begin anticipating what's coming. And it's almost like the scouts who were ahead of the wagon trains, looking at all the possibilities that could be very positive for Yelm. That's really important when you talk about the future of Yelm.
My friends, family, classmates, they're all here in Yelm. Why go anywhere else? Why? I mean, this is it. This is my life, you know.
Why Yelm? Why not Yelm? It's such a special community. It has everything that you need to thrive. It's a great place to raise a family. And I think people see that when they come in. And I think that people feel that when they start meeting the people that live here and the people that celebrate the community like we do. I can't leave. It's too special. I don't think I would find home in any other spot. It's home.
Happy Centennial from the Flat Team.
Happy 100th birthday, Yelm.
Lions serving for 86 years wishes Yelm a happy 100 years.
Happy 100th birthday, Yelm.
Congratulations, City of Yelm, for making it to 100 years. We love being part of this community and we'll stick around as long as we can. Thank you and congratulations.
Happy 100th birthday, Yelm. Happy Centennial, Yelm. Happy birthday.